Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all good? I hope so. Y'all listen, let's go ahead and get into this last episode of The Reckoning, which is from the docu-series that 50 put out about Diddy. Alright, so let's get into it. So the episode starts with Capricorn Clark telling how she got hired to be Diddy's assistant. She said her first day started off pretty cool, but it kind of got weird later on that night because some kind of way he found out that Capricorn knew Suge, and he told her that if something happened when it came to Suge, he was gonna have to take her out. So he took her to Central Park to let her know how it was gonna go down. She said she never told anyone, and since she had history dealing with addicts and people with intensive personalities because her mom was a junkie, she was pretty numb when it came to Puff and his antics. She said Puff made her write a book about how to be his assistant, and I think we saw that on the show I Want to Work for Diddy. She eventually was moved up to be the global brand director, and she worked for Diddy until like 2012. She said Diddy was good at mental games, getting under your skin, attacking your fears, as well as retaliation. Then we see Lil Rod, and he said Puffy ain't a king, he's a monster. He said it really didn't set in until a year after working for Puff that he realized that it was all a plan, kind of like a setup. He talked about him getting a call to work on Diddy's Love album. He talks about the time when they were working on the album and he saw some dude named G. He walked in with Puff and Justin. They went in the bathroom together. Then all of a sudden he heard two pops go off. At first he thought it was something from what he was working on because he was working on sound. He went in the bathroom and he saw dude on the floor bleeding out, and since he's from the hood, he knew what to do. He went straight into action. The ambulance came, but they didn't pull up to the building because they had to wait for the police. When the police pulled up, Lil Rod said that Puff told him to say that the popping didn't happen there, and some kind of way Fahim, Puff's security, made that whole situation go away. And after the popping, he said Puff and Justin walked out real comforting, and the next day in the studio everybody was acting like didn't know happen. He said, unfortunately, to make it in that industry, there are certain people you have to work for. And he felt like if he finished working on that album, it would all pay off in the long run. So he put his head down, he kept working, and everything took off for him once he worked on the Justin Bieber song, and Diddy fell in love with it. So he flew Lil Rod out to his house in Miami. Lil Rod said one day Diddy was trying to work on a song for Cassie, begging her to come back home. He was like, the man only had about 8 bars, and it took him dang near 7 months to record it. Then Diddy gonna say that he got so big that he could hear himself rapping, so it was taking him a while to get back to his exact tone, and that they was witnessing Jesus walking on water. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, bro, you gone. Like, you are out of here. Especially when he was like trying to rap and it wasn't going, and then he started popping himself aside the head and slapping himself in the face. So come on, get it together, homeboy. Like, bruh, don't let that man take nothing else. Just give him some orange juice, please. So just listening to the things that Lil Rod was saying had me looking at the TV like, what the heck is going on? And then listening to Diddy, I was like, he thinks he's infallible, and he has a really bad God complex, because when he was telling them, I know y'all don't think you gonna be hotter than me, and I'm gonna be lukewarm. If I ain't hot, y'all ain't hot. Y'all ain't gonna be hot. Then he said, I can only compare myself to the Son of God. Lil Rod was looking at Diddy like in his head, he was saying, this ninja is crazy. So Lil Rod said that he didn't realize it at the time, but he was being groomed by Diddy. Diddy was promising him a house right next to his, $250,000, making him the producer of the year. And then Diddy started leaving him message after message, sending strange extra videos of men getting poked from the back. Then he said Diddy told him to go to the club, and you know what club I'm talking about. He wanted him to bring some women back because Diddy felt that would be the only way for him to get through the process of finishing the album. And for Lil Rod, it was weird, especially seeing Diddy and Justin do freak-offs together. And I was like, Justin? His son? I mean, when they say Wolf's son, but his son? Why would you want to do freak-offs with your son? Then you see Capricorn asking, how is Diddy even able to take all those different substances? She felt like he was doing it to keep up with the young folks. And Roger Bond said that Diddy didn't groom his kids to take over the company, but to do the things that he was doing. And you'll never know if they disagree because they can't say it. And when you look at those boys, all of them look like something was cast over them, in my opinion. So Lil Rod talked about a list of substances that were always around. And sometimes you may have been on something and not even know it. He talked about all of the hidden cameras that were all over the property. He also said there were times he'd wake up not knowing what happened the night before. Sometimes he'd wake up and there'd be girls next to him. And then there were times he'd wake up and Diddy was in the bed. He said there were times when he'd wake up sore, with no recollection of what happened to him. He wake up dizzy and confused. He said he tried to confide in KK, Diddy's chief of staff, but she always downplayed everything. He said that there was a lot of things that happened to him that he didn't even want to speak on, and you could see the hurt and pain in his eyes. You can even feel it radiate off the screen. Listening to him tell his story about waking up sore or waking up scared and not knowing what happened to him and all of the hidden cameras made me think about the story Q from Day 26 shared, when he saw, like, we actually saw the mental breakdown Q went through on making a band. Then to listen to the interviews he did over the years and how broken he is, it just hurt me so bad, because he was so young, so talented, and the things he shared really pissed me off and hurt me at the same time. And in the beginning, his bandmates would laugh at him like he was crazy, but I feel like eventually he became brave enough to share what he went through, and you could see a change in how some of them responded. Two of them, in my opinion, are still a little corny and try to sweep stuff under the rug, which makes me wonder if something may have also happened to them. Lil Rod said that he was basically trying to stick it out, finish the album so that he could get his money and change his life for him and his family. But once the album was finished, Diddy started with that BS, holding his money. He wasn't paying up. Diddy dropped the album. Lil Rod kept hitting him up about his money, and it was excuse after excuse. Mark said Diddy did him the same way. He said Diddy was the type of person who liked to see people not have anything. He liked to see people wanting and needing. And after that, Lil Rod was like, nah, you gonna have to answer for this. And whatever he sent Diddy, had Diddy calling him back to back. He said all they offered him was $29,000, and he still haven't got that money to this day. Then a year later, he saw CNN pop up on his TV about Diddy being accused of abuse and several other things in relation to Cassie. And that's when he dropped his lawsuit. And at that point, he understood that he might get blackballed. Folks may come for his life, but he had to stand up for himself. And his lawsuit was the 5th among 100 other civil cases against Diddy. And at this time, it's still pending. Then we hear from Aubrey O'Day, and she said that a lawyer reached out to her about an affidavit from one of the victims, and they wanted to make her aware of an assault that she witnessed over 20 years ago. And the assault was allegedly against Aubrey. And the abusers were said to have been Diddy and a tall, heavy-set, light-skinned male who may have been a bodyguard. In the affidavit, the lady describes going to a party. They were waiting for Conrad. You may remember him from making the band. She was looking for a bathroom, but she ended up opening a door and saw Aubrey being taken advantage of in the most heinous way while being inebriated. The person who witnessed it told Conrad, and Conrad told her to mind her business because she didn't know the dynamic of the situation. And Aubrey was like, and neither do I. She said she doesn't remember any of that. So now Aubrey is trying to figure out if she was raped. She said she doesn't want to find out any more of what that lady has to say. And if she was to expose one person who had a civil lawsuit, that will give Diddy and his legal team ammunition to go after everybody else who has a lawsuit against him. And if things were to go wrong, all the blame will be placed on her, and she'd never be able to get away from Diddy and all his mess. Then they get into the lawsuit that Don Richard filed against him, and you see him telling his people to post all the positive things that Don has said about him. I guess that was his way of trying to make what she said in her lawsuit sound like a lie. Then you see Diddy and his sons make it back to the hotel, and that's when he was arrested. And they searched his hotel room where they found a prescription bottle in the name of Frank Black. They found money, 7 different pharmaceuticals, several bottles of baby oil and lubricants. And it's crazy how Diddy will use the alias Frank Black, whereas Big's alter ego was Frank White, after that character in that movie King of New York. And Diddy will always refer to himself as the King of New York in some of his songs. And here's something else that I found interesting. Before Big passed away, he was referred to as the King of Hip Hop. The Rolling Stones cover an article that Puff stole from Big. He is labeled as the new King of Hip Hop. And just seeing that took me back to Roger Bond saying that Puff never wanted anybody bigger than him. Now let's talk about Dawn and Kalina. So when Dawn dropped her lawsuit, Diddy calls Kalina panicking. She said it was around like 11 o'clock at night. He was going on and on about Dawn filing a lawsuit against him. So Kalina asked Diddy to send it over to her. She read the 5-page lawsuit and she said her heart dropped. Then you hear this news report where they are stating some of the things Dawn put in the lawsuit. They said she accused him of assault and sexual battery, forced labor, and gender-motivated violence. She mentioned situations where her and Kalina saw Diddy and his guests perform sexual acts on the people who were lethargic and passed out. And this is all according to her lawsuit and what the news reporters were reading. Kalina says that she was going through her own thing at the time when it came to her trying to get her kids. So she asked Puff for help. All she needed was $5,000, but he said he couldn't help her. But then he turned around calling her, asking her to help him when Dawn filed that lawsuit on him. She didn't want to at first because she thought that was so wrong, that when I needed you, you couldn't help me, but now you need me. But eventually, she put out a statement. And it goes back to Capricorn. She talks about being subpoenaed. She answered all of their questions, and then they asked her if there was anything else. And then she tells them about Cassie staying with her and hanging out with Kid Cudi. And she asked Capricorn if Kid Cudi could go hiking with them. Capricorn, she did not think that was a good idea. She told Cassie, he can cheat on you, but you can't cheat on him. About a week later, she said Diddy came pounding on her door about 6 in the morning, foaming at the mouth, asking her why did she tell him about Kid Cudi. Then he told her to go get dressed because they was about to go up there and take him out. And she didn't want to go. And Diddy told her that he didn't give a F what she wanted to do. Girl, get your clothes on and get in this car. So they rolled up there. When Diddy goes up to the house, she called and told Cassie what was going on. And Cassie said that Cudi was with her. Then Diddy comes back to the car. He told her to tell Cassie that he wasn't going to let her go, talking about Capricorn, until Cassie come meet up with him. And then when Cassie did get there, he kicked the mess out of Cassie. He kicked her tail. But he made sure not to touch her face. And he let them know if he got in trouble for any of that, he was going to take everybody out. Then he fired Capricorn for not telling him about Cudi. And she got very emotional looking back over that situation and having had everything that she worked so hard for taken away like that. She says this case is more traumatizing than when she actually went through it, because now she has to relive the things that she tried so hard to bury. Then they take us to the trial. You see the family arriving, and then it goes straight to the verdict. He was acquitted of racketeering and ex-trafficking, but found guilty of transportation to engage in working girls. Then it goes to juror 160, and she pissed me off so bad. It was giving pick me. And juror 75 came off like he carried some of the Diddy traits, in my opinion. Kirk said he wasn't surprised by the verdict because he threw money at it like he always do. Juror 160 was talking about growing up listening to the music he created. She talked about how some of the jurors couldn't wait to check social media to see what was being said. And then we hear from Tisa Tales. She shares her experience being at the trial every day. And she says she saw Diddy's PR team talk to bloggers. She also said his team approached her and said they could give her the transcripts with highlighted info that she can share with her followers. And she was like, yeah, no, I'm good. And then it goes back to Diddy telling his team that y'all need to be on TikTok and Instagram, not CNN. And it's crazy that the jurors were not sequestered. For a case this high profile, that's just weird to me. So the interviewer asked juror 75, you didn't see any force, fraud, or coercion between Sean and Cassie. He's talking about their relationship was interesting. They were overly in love. He took her for granted, but even after the hotel incident, they were back together like nothing happened. So for him, it was confusing. He said the jurors were confused, like, what's going on here? He said, if you don't like something, you get out completely. You can't have it both ways. He said, have the luxury and then complain about it? I don't think so. Juror 160 says that she believes Diddy can be violent based off of that hotel video. She said that they can say he was a terrible person, but DV was not one of the charges. So they talked about the judge reprimanding him for constantly looking at the jurors. Juror 75 says he never made eye contact with them because they were not supposed to. However, juror Pick Me 160 says he will look over at them, especially if he felt strongly about something that was said on the stand, and he would look over to them nodding. And she said it will remind her of when he would do that little nod on making a band. She thought it was funny because she would have the same facial expressions that he would have at times when they both felt like something didn't make sense. Girl, you don't supposed to be sitting there trying to make friends. So the interviewer asked her, like, what? And she says it was when Capricorn Clark talked about the kidnapping. Capricorn said everything she said was real, but she knew the jury didn't believe her. Juror 75 said it was hard to believe, and of course Juror 160 didn't believe her because, according to her, she was very emotional. Juror 160 said Capricorn's info was very emotional, and it was more than a decade ago, and she felt like Capricorn being so emotional that may have skewed her details, which left room for doubt, and that caused a crack in her credibility. And as the old saying goes, that's why folks stay quiet. Kirk says the jurors missed the nuances because for them it came off as an all of a sudden when it came to Cassie. And then they take us back to the stampede, then the situation with Steve Stout, then at the club with J-Lo, the schmurder, then a lawsuit that Kirk filed against him. Kirk said he's also a victim from an employer and employee standpoint, as well as in like actual deviant ways. He said that he was SA. Diddy took his 25% ownership, but they looked at Kirk like he was lying. Then he was banished from the industry. He even ended up homeless. He said dealing with Sean, a lot of bad things happened to a lot of good friends. Kirk says where he made the mistake was thinking that Diddy was going to take care of him the same way that he's taking care of Diddy. But Diddy basically disposed of him. Cassie says she's afraid what might happen when he gets out. Joy says powerful people do dangerous things. And Kirk says Diddy remembers everybody who says no. Everybody who has ever slighted him. He's devious, calculating, soulless, and a master manipulator. And there will be a price to pay. Mark said he hopes he gets everything that's coming to him. And going back to Kirk saying that Big didn't want to go to LA. And you know Clive Davis had already set up this marketing situation in London, but Diddy called Kirk and told him that Big wasn't going and to cancel it. In the Rolling Stone article, this is what Diddy said about that. Alright, quote, Biggie was supposed to go to the studio that day. He didn't want to go to the studio. He was like, I finished my album. I just want to celebrate with you. I just want to have a good time. Let's go to this vibe joint. I want to go there. Hopefully, I can meet some people, let them know I want to do some acting. That made me proud. He was thinking like a businessman. He wanted to pursue his acting stuff. So we at the party. He had a broken leg. He couldn't walk or dance. So we sat down. End quote. Now go back to I think episode 2 or 3 where dude said that when they were in LA at the party, he saw Big moving around in the party, no security, and he told Big that he just can't be moving around by himself like that out there without any protection. He said Big was kind of like, alright, I got you. They going back to partying, and then he looked around again. After a while, Big and Puff, they were gone. Okay, now let's go back to the article, right? So he says, quote, so the party's over and he's still talking, saying, yo Puff, it's gonna be so big this time, I just can't wait, we're gonna really do it. And I'm like, alright, we need to get up out of here. So We going out to the parking lot, and my car is in front of his car. I make a right. He's right behind us, but not right behind us. We get to a light, and we waiting there for him. And then the car pulls up. Then we cross the light. As we crossing the light, I hear pops ring out. I duck down. I'm thinking somebody's popping off. I've been at parties before where people do that. They'll pop off into the air, and then somebody in my car look back, said Big's car been hit. I jump out the car while the car is moving. I know if his car was hit, he's still in the car because he can't walk. So I run toward the car, and it's just him and his best friend. Everybody else had jumped out the car and ran. His best friend Damien is there, and I'm there, and Big slouched over the seat, and I'm trying to push him because he's a big dude, and he's caught underneath the steering wheel. End quote. Now, I thought back in the day when they was telling the story, they said C's was still in the car. But I don't know. And then he goes on about them finally getting him over. Puff said he got in the car, he drove the car to the hospital, but he could tell on the way there that Big was already gone. And he said, quote, and due to the fact that I've seen people actually pass away, seeing that happen, I could kind of feel like he was DAD. It's like a feeling that you get that I can't really describe to you. It's not a gift that I'm proud of having. End quote. What? Oh, this man is so full of himself. And not only that, at the start of the article, the interviewer asked Puff if he usually travels under such tight security. Puff responds, quote, no, he says, it's just this video shoot. I don't really believe in all this stuff. My feeling is like if somebody want to do something to you, they're going to be able to do it to you. There's evil all over the world. When we was in LA, we had 8 security guards with us that night. Even that wasn't enough. End quote. He said that they had 8 security guards with them that night. In an interview that Kirk Burroughs did with Art, he said there wasn't any security after the event. According to Kirk, quote, all the warnings that we got that we needed more security. The snafu in the business world came in like this. You have a budget for everything you do. The budget for Big in LA for the award show ended that Friday night, Saturday morning, when a new budget started to get him from LA to London, where he would have been taken care of with security, his friends, and everyone he wanted to be with him in the style that he was accustomed to handle the press junket. When that didn't happen, that budget was never opened. The budget for LA ended, and there was a great need for security that Saturday night, and he was out without that security. End quote. So with Puff saying that they had 8 security guards, it almost come off like you omitting certain things, or it's like, yeah, we did have 8 security guards, but what I did say is we have it at that time. Right? That's what it sounded like to me, in my opinion. So all of it was like an ego kick for Puff. According to Kirk, quote, Sean had an album that he was recording. He wanted to do some of it in LA. I think it was a bit of poking your chest out. We could have recorded that album completely in New York. A little bit of I'm here doing this when you told me not to come here. I came to the award show. We showed up. You told us not to be there. I went out on the town on Saturday. You told us don't be in your city. And going out on the town on that Saturday night, that's where we had reached the wall. End quote. And that is horrible. Big could have still been here. And with a friend like Puff, baby, you don't need no enemies. Because watching this docuseries and then going back, from the things we've heard, over the years, going back seeing things in black and white, in articles, going back seeing clips of making a band, it's like everything was right there in front of our face. And now like all the puzzle pieces, they just fit together. It's crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if 50 came out with a part 2 of this docuseries, and he really need to get Gene up in there to see what he gonna be talking about. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about episode 4. Let me know how you felt about the whole docuseries, and I'll talk to y'all later.